The Royals took the series on the north side of Chicago from the Cubs. Seth Lugo pitched a great game in the Wednesday afternoon game, but was that his last game for the Royals? We'll discuss the looming trade deadline, and a massive series coming up at Kauffman Stadium this weekend live on One Royal Way. We're back at it here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Joel Penfield. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed on all platforms. Hit those notification bells so you know when our episodes go up, both video and on the audio side as well. I appreciate all the support that we've gotten this season to this point as we, the trade deadline's coming up. And after that, we got about 2 months of the season left. It has gone by way too quick, as it does pretty much every year. Jordan coming in, sell. I think we're heading in that direction, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit. This show, as always, brought to you by Emprise Bank. Member FDIC, our partners in Possible here at Kansas City Sports Network and on the One Royal Way podcast for the last couple of years. We can't thank them enough for that support. So the Royals end up winning a rubber match on Wednesday afternoon, day game at Wrigley, as is tradition there. What a nice night without a game. Yeah, like it. It's kind of this is one of those rare off days where I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with the one, a little bit of a break here before this next 6 games, and this next 6 games really kind of decides like where this team is heading, and what they decide to do during that stretch. So and they're all at home, and this is a huge game, a huge series against a team in Cleveland that is kind of in a similar position to Kansas City. So this could end up being the thing that kind of pushes both teams in either direction, though I think both end up being more sell than buy, but we'll see what happens. Let's talk about the game from Wednesday really quick before we move forward with that, some of the storylines from that game. So Royals end up winning 8-4. They get rolling early, thanks in part to some bad defense from the Chicago Cubs. Adam Frazier hits a routine fly ball. But by the way, before we get into that, because I just remembered as I'm looking at the lineup. Weird lineup, definitely a getaway day type lineup from the Matt Cotrero in the front office and R&D, rolled out there. Bobby got the day off. Now, some of that was due to, some knee soreness from that had lingered from the Miami series. First game he's missed all year. Guys take games off. It's not that big of a deal. But Adam Frazier's leading off. Mikel's hitting second. You got Kyle Little hitting 8th. Tyler Tolbert's playing third for the first time this season and first time in the big leagues, and getting the start batting 9th. And it's like, okay, well, maybe that's a little telling about where they think the team is at. That they're just going to roll with a lineup like that. And it's not inherently a bad thing. Every team runs out weird lineups throughout the year. This was certainly one of those in the Royals case. But it ends up working out, ends up being something that worked for this team. Now, this isn't is this team better off without Bobby Witt Jr. next on first take? Like, nothing like that. But Adam Frazier hits a routine fly ball to right, and Saya just botches it and right. So he's on second. Mikel with a bunt right out the gate, put a runner on third with 1 out. I just still don't know if I necessarily agree with that decision, but, he gets it down and puts a runner on third for Vinny. Who has been great for, the better part of the last 2 to 3 months of the season. Really outside of April, he's been great. Jumps on a first pitch fastball homer, and it's 2-0 before you can blink. Vinny has been unbelievable for most of this season. Like, he has been very, very good in just about everything they could have asked. Part of it is he was so bad in April that it kind of depressed his numbers, and he's still playing catch up with it. But even then, if you look at his game logs, and I'm taking it all the way back. I'll take it back all the way to April 30th because it's actually pretty significant. But if you look just in July, if you start there, Vinny's slashing 279, 333, 588 with a 148 weighted runs created plus. That's 5 homers in that stretch. If you take it back to June, he's been, just as good. because that's really when people realize, like, oh, Vinny's kind of back to the guy he was. 289, 353, 506, if you just take it back to June. But if you go all the way back to April 30th, when he hit that kind of in a similar spot, first pitch fastball homer against the Rays in Tampa, it's slashing 305, 360, 496. I mean, that's an OPS of well over 800 in the 850s with a 136 weighted runs created plus, 14 homers in that stretch. He had a few homers early, but really the consistency wasn't quite there. A lot of that due to him playing through the hamstring injury that he started the season with. He's been exactly what this team asked him to be. He has not been quite the same with runners in scoring position at times this year, but he was so unsustainably good last year. Like, you don't necessarily expect that to keep up. I mean, it's one of those things that that kind of ebbs and flows, and it has certainly done that at times this year. But Vinny has been, he's been a huge part of this offense over the last few weeks. As Bobby's been kind of up and down in spots, Vinny's been one of the more consistent dudes in this lineup for quite a while. And it's something that I've talked about actually for a couple of years now. But I think what we've seen, we have essentially 2 years of, year and a half, 2 years of what Vinny Pasquantino can be over a full season. A solid middle of the order bat. He's going to play solid defense. He's going to run into enough power that it is still okay. He's not going to be a 30 homer guy, but I think he can max out at like 22 to 25 with the ability to drive in a bunch of runs, make a bunch of contact, not fall into a huge pit of strikeouts, and just and there's also kind of the intangible. Like, he is kind of one of the leaders in the clubhouse. He's a bit of a rah-rah guy, got a little red ass in him that this clubhouse needs at times. I think you look into, this is year 4, essentially year 4. He's going to be arbitration eligible. I think next year is going to be ARB1 for him, but I want to confirm that. So Vinny Pasquantino is ARB eligible in 2026. He's not a free agent until 29. So you still have 3 more years of Vinny in this uniform. I think that this organization should look into in the offseason giving him an extension of some sort and buying out maybe 2 years of free agency, something like that. Have him for essentially 5 years, give him like a 5 for maybe 75, something like that. I think that is a pretty reasonable number. Because he's not a huge power guy at first base, it may bring that number down a little bit. But you could do a lot worse than having Vinny in your lineup for the next 5 years. That gets him through age 32. Still would have a chance to cash in on the back end if he's still healthy and consistent. So he could still, find a way into free agency. Still another point in his career. So there's a lot to like with what he's doing and what he could be moving forward. He is certainly a candidate for, someone that the Royals can continue to build around and be a part of this. And he and Bobby are super close. So this is, it's continuing to keep that core around and a core of leaders in this clubhouse. And he had 2 home runs in this game as well. He's been unbelievable. Super, super impressive what I've seen. Salvi hit another homer. He's just 291. The countdown is going to be a huge part of the next couple of months. And when he gets to 300, because I don't think it's an if, it's a when, health permitting, that Salvador Perez is going to hit his 300th home run this season. And just continuing to beat the crap out of Father Time. So I talked about the last couple episodes. It's still unbelievable to me. The other guy I want to give a shout out to, probably have to take a break, and then we'll talk about Seth Lugo and his start and what that means moving forward. But Tyler Tolbert getting his first career start at third base. Only, I think, his 4th or 5th start in the big leagues. He's been, predominantly a late game guy. Pinch run, defensive replacement in multiple spots. Super valuable from that perspective, especially with, you're not expecting a lot from a guy like Tyler Tolbert. You're just, can you go and steal some bases? Can you play a bunch of different positions? And can you hit once a week if we need you to? I think he's shown that he can do something like that. And he hit a ball hard in his first at bat, and it was right at Dansby. I'm like, all right, hey, you put a pretty good swing on that. All right, feeling good. He gets a fastball up, and the ball is flying out of Wrigley. These hot days in the summer, that wind blowing out, Wrigley becomes a bandbox. It's the polar opposite of what it is, in the first couple of months of the season when it's cold in Chicago and that wind's blowing in. I mean, it's almost impossible to hit a ball pull side, for any sort of power. And he jumped on it, he got it. First career home run for him, and that is just, that's an awesome feat for anybody, let alone a guy that's not really known for any sort of power whatsoever, to jump on a ball like that. And it was the easiest way to go and get your first homer back, because the bleacher creatures threw it right back. They threw the ball back, and the Royals going, hey, and he gets it back without having to negotiate, a signed bat and ball for a fan. So good for him on that. This is not a endorsement of 3 Tyler Tolbert starts a week, but you love to see guys come through. And this is part of what I've talked about for most of the season. We know Vinny and Salvi are going to cash in, right? We know Bobby's going to, we know Michael's going to, but who else can be a part of the lineup and be a part of, this team, and produce some runs here and there? Tyler Tolbert, it was Tyler Tolbert today. It was Adam Frazier the other day. It was John Rave multiple times over the last few games. Jack's gotten in on it. Kyle Isbell has, in certain spots this year. So just who else can help the 3-4 guys in this order that are your most consistent hitters? Outside of that, it's been slim pickings. But it was Tyler Tolbert's day on Wednesday, and that was pretty awesome. We'll talk about Seth Lugo's start, what that means moving forward with the deadline looming, and we'll talk a little bit about this Cleveland series coming up. Not much else to say other than you got to win them, but we'll get some probables and a little bit of preview right after this.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network. Emprise Bank has been with us from the beginning. They were our first network partner, and they believed in the vision of what we were building from the start. I can't speak to any other banks or companies and how they operate, but I can tell you from personal experience and based on the growth of the network you're listening to right now, that if you have banking needs, call our friends at Emprise Bank. We've worked with so many great people there over the years, from Vicky and Aggie to Andrea, Lori, Jackie, Deb, and Aaron, and not to mention so many others that not just supported KC Sports Network, but supported our KCSN Foundation as well. But the best thing that I know is that if I have a question or a problem, no matter how dumb the question is, I know who I'm going to call and who I'm going to talk to. And I know that I'm getting an answer from someone that I can trust. And I know that person is there to help us. That's why Emprise Bank has always been and continues to be our partner in Possible. And they can be yours too. You just have to reach out. If you have a banking need, whether it's business or personal, hit me up. I will connect you directly with the same people that have helped us build KCSN. And that's our friends at Emprise Bank.
Folks, there's nothing that beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching some baseball. And there's no simpler way to get in on the action than by downloading the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And the best part, Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Sure to hit that like Thank you guys very much for your patience. Now we're back here live on YouTube. The storm that's rolling through the KC Metro on Thursday night. The lightning to my house went out, came back on. So not without power. Just came, but it came on and off real quick. But knocked out my Wi-Fi, so I had to wait a second for that to come back on. We are back, so we're all good to go. We're back just like the Royals after beating the Cubs, right? But thank you for your patience, everybody. I know that was a little longer than anticipated, but I didn't really get into anything on the other side of the break, so it ends up working out. Thank you to those that did hang around live, and if you're listening on, we'll go from there. Sorry, trying to collect my thoughts here as we're back from break here. So I did want to talk about Seth Lugo and his outing on Wednesday, and I thought he pitched really well. The first couple innings, it didn't look like he was going to. The command was all over the place. He leadoff walk led to a run and ends up giving a couple back. And it's like, okay, well, I don't know if they're going to be able to hang on if he's going to be pitching like this, with the offense not having Bobby, and obviously just the general inconsistency that we've seen throughout the season. I didn't know what we were going to get, but he turned it around and was great for the rest of the game. Gets into the sixth. He gives up 2 only, and it was just in those first couple of innings. The strikeouts were not there early, but late in the game, the command was awesome. He ends up striking out 6, strikes out the side in the 6th inning, which was really like the kind of the culmination of it all. Only scatters 4 hits, a hit batter, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. But really, after the 2nd inning, he was about as dialed in as he's been for most of this season. So far on the season for Kansas City, he's got 113 innings pitched, 2.95 ERA, 99 strikeouts to 33 walks. The walks been a little higher this year, but some of it's calculated. Some of it is just, he's had a couple outings where, lacks some command. But, for Kansas City, he has been incredible throughout his entire time with the Royals. In 2 years, 52 starts. And of those 52 starts, he's gotten into the 6th inning 38 times. And 33 of those are quality starts. That is a crazy number, especially for a guy that's 35 years old. Obviously has not started for most of that time, but still, that is an unbelievable sort of trait to have in the modern game, where guys are throwing less innings than we've ever seen. The guys aren't getting into the 6th, 7th inning as often. 3 times through, as we talked about, that's when you pull him and you go to the next guy. And he's just kind of staved that off, and he's been fantastic. 52 starts, 2.98 ERA in 319 2/3 innings, 280 strikeouts to 81 walks during that stretch, and a whip just above 1. It was, even with the walks up this year, the whip is about the same. It was 1.089 last year. It's 1.088 this year. An incredible model of consistency every 5 days. You know what you're going to get from him. The ERA plus is actually better for him this year. And he finished 2nd in Cy Young voting to Tarek Skubal last year. Well, obviously won unanimously, but he got the most second-place votes. All of that to say, I do think we witnessed the last start for Seth Lugo in a Royals uniform. And it is the prudent business decision to move on from him now, knowing there's a pretty good chance you're not going to be able to get him back in free agency. Because if I were a betting man, he is going to decline that $15 million player option, as we've laid out over the last few weeks. And if he does that, I don't even think you get I think as it's not true free agency. I don't know if there's a comp pick involved with that. There might be. But I would rather take a sure thing or a surer thing in a known commodity prospect or 2 than rolling the dice in the draft. And that's not an indictment or anything, that's not me being critical of the Royals and their draft practices. It's not that. Just the baseball draft is a much bigger roll of the dice than the NBA draft or the NFL draft, where guys play immediately. You got to wait years and years before you see guys in most cases. Teams are going to be calling on him. He's probably the best starter available right now. And even if he is a rental, teams may get desperate and pay up for him a little bit. This is not – and shoot, the Cubs might be one of the teams involved the most. We watched this Royals offense. They've been bad most of this year. And Colin Ray and Ben Brown got lit up by this team. Matthew Boyd is great, but I don't know if he's necessarily a one for a playoff series. And that's what they would need him to be. Shota Imanaga is a good mid-rotation guy. maybe like a 2. But you add Lugo in there, it can make a massive difference. The Yankees are going to be interested in starters. The Dodgers are going to be interested in starters. Houston, I think, might be interested. Seattle might be interested with some of their inconsistency when it comes to just the health of their rotation, with Gilbert not necessarily being right and kind of being in and out of the injured list. Bryce Miller has missed time. George Kirby has missed time. There's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be interested. There's going to be a lot of options for him. And I think it's the right thing to do. And even if you think you can still be competitive this year, you can still do that and not have Seth Lugo. And I know that sounds counterintuitive because he's one of the best pitchers on this staff and that the Royals have had over the last handful of years. But Noah Cameron has proven he's a pretty good pitcher. Chris Bubich has obviously done that as well. Michael Wacha is about as steady as they come. Maybe you get Cole Reagans back at the beginning of August, and that's a solid 1 through 4 right there. And then you still add Michael Lorenzen in. And even if you don't go Michael Lorenzen, who knows? Maybe Rich Hill can give you 2 good months, right? Or they stretch Daniel Lynch back out should he get healthy. Maybe you make it. Maybe in one of these trades, you go and get a back of the rotation swing starter like you did with Michael Lorenzen last year to try and get something done there. They might need some pitching pretty bad if they do trade Lugo, but it would make the farm system better. It could also make the big league club better in the immediate and in the future by going and maybe you're able to get that corner outfield bat that you've coveted for a year and a half. I don't know if those guys are necessarily going to be available because, like I said, I don't think Seth Lugo is going to command the best pitcher on a stat or the best prospect in a system like an Owen Cassie, who I know people have talked about a lot. But it could get you something. It could be pretty intriguing. Now, good buddy, former co-host of the show here, Jordan Foote. Joel, thoughts on long-term buying stuff folks are throwing out like Duran, like a Jarren Duran. I'm all for that as well because I don't think this is not the Royals blowing it up at the trade deadline and just, hey, we're punting on this contention window. Like it's just not going to happen. We're not in that situation. So I'm okay with, you trade a Seth Lugo, but maybe you package him to Boston with a Carlos Estevez or another, maybe him and Estevez and a prospect, a top-ish prospect for a Jarren Duran, who you would then have for 3 years. Spark plug guy, kind of plays the Royals style. He can play that corner outfield spot. He can play center field if you need him to. If you want to upgrade that over, from an offensive perspective from Kyle Isbell. And, that's a guy that makes the floor of your lineup a heck of a lot higher. He has not been as good as he was last year, but he's still a pretty solid player. And I think with the way he plays, the floor is kind of high. So we'll see if they end up doing something like that. I am not saying that's what they're going to do, but I'm not going to rule it out. But this trade deadline now is not about blowing it up and just getting all the value you can and moving forward. It is, how can we make this organization better now and for next season? Because they have talked about being fully in on contending in 2026. It's not going to happen for them this year, but at least in my estimation, they're not going to say that publicly, and nor should they. I think it would give them the best opportunity to get better now and get better for next year. And Duran has had a much better. He had a really terrible start to the season, but he has been very good lately. And I do wonder. The only thing that might concern me a little bit is I do wonder if the ballpark is maybe not suited for his game because he's got some pull side power, but I don't know if he's got Kauffman Stadium pull side power. He bangs doubles off of the monster quite a bit. I just wonder how his offensive profile would translate to Kauffman Stadium. And maybe he just becomes just a 50 double machine, just hitting them, spraying gaps and turning singles into doubles. Like that would be a fun top of the lineup with maybe you go Duran and then Bobby, Michael, Vinny, Salvi, Cags. I mean, that length, and think about just that 1 through 6. Like that's really good. Then you can maybe move Jonathan India down to 7. Maybe that changes some of his offensive goals. I've talked about that for most of the year. Like, it's not necessarily that I think he's a bad leadoff hitter, but I don't think for what this team needs, he is the table setter that this team that we all thought he could be, that I thought he could be, and that most people thought he could be for the Royals moving forward. Like them going gap to gap with some, serious homers, serious stolen base threat, with Bobby on base. That would get Bobby some fastballs to hit in advantageous counts. Teams would be, that would make teams nervous from jump. So it would be one to consider. I would do it. And I know it would probably cost a Blake Mitchell, and that would suck. Because I think Blake Mitchell has a chance to be good, but I think there is a ton of risk with him. So between like the Carter Jensen, Blake Mitchell conversation, I'd be much more willing to part with Blake Mitchell than Carter Jensen. I still have some reservations about Carter, but he has mashed the cover off the ball since about the middle of May and is just tearing up AAA. Now, we also saw Cags tore up AAA, and that is what it is. But you can see the improvements are there. He's hitting the ball for a bunch of power. The selectivity is getting there. The strikeout rate is coming down. It's still pretty high right now, but it's a small sample in AAA. But I think the floor with him offensively is, I think total player value, Mitchell's probably got more value because he's better defensively. But I think the floor for Jensen offensively is a little bit higher because Blake Mitchell strikes out at an incredible rate. And he's striking out like 38% right now in high A. Like, he struck out well over 30% in Columbia last year. Now, he hit 18 home runs, home runs, but I have massive concern of whether he's actually going to be a legitimate big leaguer. I think it is there, and the floor is like Freddie Fermin. Like, he's a backup. But how good is Kyle Isbell with more power at the catcher? I mean, those are two completely different profiles. Like, I kind of know where you're going with that, Aiden, but I think what you mean is like a super low offensive profile with great defense. Now, to be fair, that still provides a ton of value at the catcher position because it's the most important on the field, and he is very good receiving and blocking. Once he gets the arm figured out, maybe there's something there. But if it takes giving up somebody like that to go and get a Jarren Duran, I'm doing it. Because I think if this team were nowhere close to contention, I wouldn't do it at all. But this team, I don't think, is that far off from it. And that would do it. Reed Bankson, I think Lugo Mitchell and maybe a Drew Beam, that would get it done. And I would do it. And we'll see if it's a tenable situation. There kind of been conflicting reports of whether Boston is going to move Duran, they're going to keep him. I don't know, but I think Lugo, Mitchell, and Beam would be like, you know what? Yep, let's just go ahead and do it because Lugo is going to help solidify our rotation with Giolito and Bayo and Crochet, and that's a really good rotation for October. And I thought Boston was going to be really, really good coming into this year, so I think I had them in the World Series with Philly. Nah, if not the World Series, I had them making it pretty dang far. Regardless, Boston it could still put themselves in a position, and both of those teams get better for now and for later. Right. I think it obviously makes the Royals offense better, but it solidifies Boston's pitching staff. That could be like one of those win-win sort of moves for 2025 and eventually, 2026 make the Royals a lot more interesting and I think a little bit better. Big series coming up this weekend at Kauffman Stadium, probably the biggest of the season. This is truly like a make or break weekend. You're 3-3 in this first 6-game stretch coming out of the All-Star break between Miami and Chicago. Now you come back home, face Cleveland. Your pitching matchups, it's going to be Michael Walker versus Gavin Williams on Friday. Saturday is going to be Chris Bubich and Tanner Bybee, who lit the Royals up the last time that they played. And then Sunday is going to be Joey Cantillo and Noah Cameron. So a little lefty-lefty matchup for a Sunday matinee game. I think there's a chance for 2 of 3, but I'm not going to count on it because Gavin Williams and Tanner Bybee have annihilated the Royals in the past. Those are the types of guys that the Royals struggle against. So this is a team that struggles against hitting fastballs, and both of those dudes throw really good fastballs. Not even like super top of the line velocity. Williams can touch it, but what I mean is the characteristics of the fastball are tough to hit already, and it's a team that struggles to hit fastballs to begin with. The Royals are either going to find a way to light one of them up, or they're going to score 1 run in 2 games. And I don't know what we're going to see. It's kind of been a theme of this team is every time I think I've got them figured out, I don't. And I have no idea what to expect. I will actually be at the game on Saturday, but I will be in the stands as a fan. First time this year that I'm going to a game, not from a credentialed perspective. I'm excited to spend some time in the ballpark that way, have a beer, hang out, and enjoy a game a little differently. If you are at the game on Saturday and you happen to see me, come say what's up. I'd love to meet people that listen to the show. The fact that anyone listens to this is still kind of mind-boggling to me. That the level of support and the amount of people that pay attention to watch this, I'm truly blessed with. Before we get out of here, toast game brought to you by Holiday Distillery. I got a split base old fashioned tonight, which is I got 1 ounce of a 100 proof rye in here and 1 ounce of dark rum with chocolate and orange bitters, and it's fantastic. May think it's weird. Don't knock it till you try it. It's pretty great. Nate, you're the best for always hanging out in the chat. I really always appreciate it. I remember we met at I think it was a playoff game last year, just randomly walking through the concourse. That was pretty cool. So yeah, I'll be, look forward to anybody that may be out there. Come see me or come say what's up if you ever see me. Toast game to Tyler Tolbert. First big league homer. Think that's absolutely worthy of it. Vinny, worthy performance. But when a guy hits his first big league homer, that is absolutely worthy of a toast game. So shout out to him. Shout out to everybody listening. And we will talk on Sunday night. We live at 8:30. My Wi-Fi is actually relatively fixed now, so shouldn't run into some of the issues we have in the past. And we'll recap this series. Maybe there's some moves made. If Lugo gets moved, if it's a big time trade one way or the other, say like they trade for Duran or a bat in that capacity, Seth Lugo gets moved, I will go live as soon as I am able. It can get tricky if I'm at the office, but if I'm home, I'm hopping on live as soon as I can. If not, on Thursday at the trade deadline, right when the deadline is over, maybe I'll talk to Nick to really confirm this. I'm thinking out loud right now as I'm doing this, and this is a terrible outro. I'm thinking right now probably going to maybe go live at like 4:30, 4:45, and like as the deadline passes, plus a little extra in case some other moves get made and anything else that happens throughout the day, be around to talk about it and go from there. That's going to do it for the show now, finally, as I land this plane. Talk to you all on Sunday night. Have a great one, everybody. Cheers.